This weekend I went to California City to set up my glider and do a flight out into the Nevada desert. With my glider set up and water in the glider, I hooked up and launched relatively early in the morning, about 10:30. I towed behind 2 Tango. Took a long tow up to approximately 9,000 feet, and then at 9,000 feet released for a long glide to what we call Boomer Ridge. Here you can see getting up to the top of tow about 9,000 feet, and then moving over to my start gate, and then beginning the long glide about 20 miles to Boomer Ridge. You can see getting down now to about 7,000 feet. I'll arrive at Boomer Ridge at about 6,500 feet and immediately get lucky and get a small thermal. Here get a couple hundred feet, get up to about 6,900, and then start to see if I can find any ridge lift. It's just barely working. Right there at Owens Peak, I'm able to sustain a ridge top, and so I press forward. Behind me, 5 Zulu, Tom Sierkowski, is just launching at this point, towing up behind me, and we'll see him in a few minutes on this animation. I tried to see if I could catch a thermal back about a minute ago, and it didn't quite work, so I pressed forward, continuing to ridge soar as far as I can north. And you can see on the altimeter at the top left that I'm slowly gaining. I've gone from 6,500 feet, now I'm up to about 8,500, and I'm doing about 70 knots on average moving forward. On this animation you'll see my plane in the red, and then behind in the background 5 Zulu coming up behind me in the blue. Still ridge soaring, but now up to 10,000 feet. Should be getting up close to Olancha. Actually, I just passed Olancha. Olancha's there in the background, it looks like. Catching a small thermal here, circling up now at 11,500. Very turbulent this day. Here in the area of Mount Whitney, this thermal is extremely turbulent. Ended up having to thermal at 70 to 80 knots in order to keep the plane from getting bounced around so much. Now you can see behind me 5 Zulu come up. He passes me right away, and then we fly together for about 50 miles or so, thermaling together up now to 12,500, and again taking a long glide. We took slightly different paths, as you can see. I went a little bit further to the west on some of these runs. This right now is around Bishop area. This is just on the west side of Bishop, coming up on Tom's Peak there in the middle of the screen. This is a Google Earth image showing the track. Now circling up at Tom's Peak, up to 13,000 feet now. Tom got up a little bit higher, and he took a longer glide. Now well west over the Sierras, around Mammoth, circling up 14,000, 15,000 feet, and then going back on glide. You can see Mono Lake in the distance there, up to the northeast a little bit. I'm trying to get to Lee Vining. That's going to be my turn point, just to the west of Mono Lake, and then I'll head east. 5 Zulu had a turn point up a little bit farther to the north by Bridgeport, so he'll continue on while I head east, and then you'll see us meet up again, or come close to meeting up again, out towards Mount Grant. There's Mono Lake. So I've made my turn point now. I'm gliding. I started around 16,000 feet. I'm taking a long glide to the east towards Hawthorne. So that's where I left at the top of the screen. Left Mount Grant. This is the sky in the distance, what it looked like as I got over to Hawthorne. Very nice clouds to the east. North, not so great. Decided to continue to head east at this point. You can see with the wind drift you can see the wind drift with the circles that I'm making. About 20 knots from the south at this point. So I decided to take advantage of the wind from the south and head north. That gives me a ground speed of around 135 knots. Again, you can see the wind drift in those circles from the south. So I got up 17,000 feet in this area, and then taking relatively long glides to the next area, down to 12,000 feet, and then circling up again. You can see in the Google Earth image each of those thermals. Total number of thermals for this flight was 38. Had about 25% of my thermals to the left and 75 to the right. Here I'm over just north of Tonopah at this point, heading north. This is what the sky looked like. Looked very good. To the north. To the east was starting to get a little bit overdeveloped. There was some rain off to the east, so I decided to continue northeast instead of due east. So at this point I'm approaching Austin, Nevada, past Mina about half an hour previous. I'm getting a little bit low there, down to about 12,000 feet. Out in the desert, it seems low because everything is so far away. It does seem like you're flying over the moon sometimes. The landscape is so hostile. Here up to 17,000 feet again. Feeling pretty good. I'm making a decision now to continue to head north. My real turn point is to the east, out at Ely, but because the clouds were looking good and because the wind was from the south so strongly, I continue to head north, and I'm thinking at this point that I can get up to Elko and then turn east at Elko over to Wells and come back down the east side of the Ruby Valley, back down to Ely. You can see the circle fields to the bottom left. Use those fields as alternates if I need to land. But at this point I have plenty of airports within range. 16,500, almost 17,000 there. So easily could make it to Elko at this point. But now I've got my heart set on making it to Twin Falls, Idaho. It was actually raining to the south towards Ely. I could hear some of the other glider pilots talking about it. So I decided to see if I could make it to Twin Falls at 17,300 feet. I've got glide now. The computer's telling me sometime around this point that I need to gain another 5,000 feet at some point. If I make that 5,000 feet, I would make it to Twin Falls. That's the sky towards the Jarbidge Mountains, which is not looking very good. I'm hoping that something will work out and I'll get my 5,000 feet, but as you'll see coming up here, this didn't work out. So I'm taking the long glide now down to 14,000 feet. Jarbidge Mountains over to the right side of the screen. This is now just getting into Idaho. Snake River is just to the north. It's not working out so good. The clouds didn't work. I go over to the mountains, tried that. Unfortunately, they didn't work either. So now I'm getting low. Just passed below 10,000 feet, and I'm looking for a landing. I've got Three Creeks landing strip over to the north, but I decide after not making it at the Jarbidge Mountains there and seeing some fields to the north, I figure that it's better probability that my wings will fit at a field. So I decide not to go to the landing strip, and I end up in one of the pivot circle fields at what will become, I'll understand that it is owned by Mr. Brackett in Idaho. This is the fields that I landed in. I landed in the bottom, in the south edge of the lower circle field. This is about 50 miles from Jackpot, which is the closest populated town. It was about 929 kilometer flight. Afterwards, had the family come out all the way from Southern California. It took them 2 days to get me. There was a fire and wildfire in the area. Several wildfires actually. My glider sat there for 2 days in the field. Worked out just fine. No problems at all. With the help of my kids and the Brackett's kids, we had quite a bit of fun. We pushed the glider, got it over the wheel tracks and into position. Kids having a little bit of fun. You can see the smoke sky. These are the Brackett kids. My kids. The Brackett kids had a lot of fun. They weren't quite sure why a plane was landing in their backyard, but they had fun with it. Everybody helped push the glider up into the trailer, take the wings off, fit them inside. With the wings inside, we all grabbed a hold of the fuselage and pushed the fuselage up inside the trailer, and that's it.